this week's action-packed episode of Dragon Ball Super, Frieza and his army of soldiers have invaded Earth, and the Z-Warriors begin an epic battle for the fate of the universe. They are then challenged by the now superpowered Tagoma at the end of this week's episode. This is what I'm talking about. Right to the action, right to the cool stuff, and lots of major differences from the movie version of the Resurrection F arc. This one right here had some great surprises behind it. It was probably one of the more entertaining episodes I've seen in quite some time, and one of the first episodes of Dragon Ball Super that just felt classic. This one was great because we've gathered some of the most popular characters of the series. Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, Ten Shinhan, Master Roshi, they're all there getting ready to fight against Frieza's army, and they all, for the most part, get to do something really awesome. Now, at first glance, this isn't really that spectacular of an episode. I mean, especially when compared to the movie version. That action scene with all the characters in the movie version was handled much better. Hell, Master Roshi broke his staff within like 5 seconds of starting to fight in this week's episode. This was done in a much flashier fashion in the movie version. However, there are some key differences to this battle that I really like. First, I want to talk about Krillin. The first thing about his character is that he is staying true to who Krillin is. He's very nervous, he's unsure of himself, he's actually kind of scared of Frieza's army. It's only after fighting against a couple of them at the same time that he realizes that he's way faster, way stronger, and Roshi reminds him that he's seen some of the most epic battles of the entire universe, so this should be nothing for him. And he does this awesome attack where he shoots this ki blast into the air, which suddenly explodes, raining down on Frieza's army. This just bolsters the strength of all of his friends, and that's when they really start to tear up with all of their big signature ki attacks. Roshi using his big buffed up version of the Kamehameha Blast, Piccolo with his special beam cannon, Tien with his tried and true tri-beam, and then of course there's Gohan, who basically just does random ki blasts. Gohan almost seemed like he was going to be the star of this episode because there was this one scene where they send out that one big red devil-looking guy by the name of Shisami, and I thought the battle between him and Gohan was going to be straight up epic. He was really cool in the movie version. However, this is honestly where I think the best part of the episode comes into play, where they do something completely different. Shisami grabs onto Gohan, he's getting ready to crush him with all of his muscles, and it almost looks like Gohan's just going to turn into a Super Saiyan and just blow him away. That's when suddenly, this massive ki blast just goes right through Shisami's back, and then all the way through Gohan as well, seemingly killing him. And this was because of Frieza's soldier, Tagoma, a character who was killed in the movie version, is now the strongest soldier in Frieza's army, even more powerful than the Ginyu Force. And the main reason for that is because Tagoma was actually Frieza's training partner. We don't get to see a lot of Frieza's training, but we at least get to see that it's on this weird, creepy planet with all of these giant spiked rocks, and Tagoma just looks like he's constantly getting the crap beat out of him. But because he was training with Frieza for so long, he himself got incredibly powerful and also learned from the master himself. In many ways, he's starting to take on the traits of Frieza and becoming like the next in line. And Tagoma has really evolved into one hell of a badass character. Although it's pretty obvious from the spoilers and the fact that Ginyu Frog keeps showing up, especially for the preview for the next episode, that somehow Ginyu might switch bodies with Tagoma. And it's so perfect because they bring up the Ginyu Force again in this episode, and Tagoma even mentions that he slightly remembers who they are, so they're really setting up Tagoma becoming Ginyu, which frankly, I cannot wait to see that return. I really hope his old voice actor comes back as well. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. And this is the biggest change that we've seen to this arc thus far. Just the fact that Tagoma's alive and that he's super powerful and he's going to be fighting against the group. I cannot wait to see how strong he truly is, and if even any of the other Z-Warriors even stand a chance against them. Although I have a feeling they're going to be just fine. And it's obvious that Gohan's going to get a Senzu Bean. Everything's going to be fine. The other thing about this episode that is brand new is that Vegeta and Goku are continuing their training with Beerus and Whis, and both Beerus and Whis are kind of getting annoyed at Goku and Vegeta because of all the noise they're causing and the fact that they could basically just do their training at home. So they decide to teleport them to this other mysterious dimension, which is still a complete mystery. It might even be kind of like another version of the hyperbolic time chamber. This way, Goku and Vegeta can attain the power of Super Saiyan Blue. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super? This one was just so freaking classic, and they got through all of the big introductions of all the characters showing up, Bulma coming in and meeting Frieza for the very first time. It is kind of weird when you think about it, that she was actually on planet Namek that entire time, but she never actually ran into Frieza. This is her first time actually running into the Warlord, which leads to a lot of funny scenes. Even Jacko the Galactic Patrolman is there, who is just severely underplayed. His action sequences in the movie version were frankly just spectacular, and they don't really do much with him in this episode, unfortunately. I also like that they did follow up on the fact that they didn't tell Goten and Trunks about any of this stuff, although it doesn't matter. At the end of the episode, when they sense Tagoma powering up, they both start to head towards the battlefield, so we're definitely going to see them in the next episode. And they even mentioned that Boo went to sleep, and when he goes to sleep, he's not waking him up. If you push him, if you tickle him, if you put his hand in some warm water and wait for him to piss, he's not going to do anything. So that's kind of a bummer, because I really wanted to see Majin Buu fight against Frieza, especially because Frieza acknowledged Majin Buu's existence, and that would have just been an amazing battle that I never thought could have happened, and this would have been the perfect opportunity to actually show that off. That being said, this week's episode was still really entertaining. It's still different enough from the movie that I can definitely recommend checking out this episode. I think Frieza could be slightly more ruthless in what he does, because when he arrived in the movie, he just instantly destroys a city, no problem, and then just starts killing people left and right. But still, the spirit of the movie is there, especially the look of all of the soldiers when they're coming out of his ship for the first time. It looks so cool. I still loved the twist with Tagoma, who I still think was the real star of this episode. He's really come into his own, aside from just being some random alien who stands in the background who was just killed by Frieza. He's really turned into a really great villain for the series, and that's what Dragon Ball Super needs, some brand new villains, and Tagoma's pretty awesome. He's basically the next generation Ginyu Force. Especially if you take a look at the preview for next week's episode, which I cannot wait for. What I will say is, this was one hell of an action-packed episode of Dragon Ball Super. If you have a favorite Dragon Ball character, there's a good chance that they actually do show up in this episode. There's some pretty decent fighting choreography, lots of explosions, lots of cool, weird, wacky-looking aliens, and lots of cool twists and turns. This was a really good episode right here. The only thing I could probably complain about is that I wish the animation and the artwork could look a little bit better at times. That being said, this is a Toei animation production, so you gotta take what you can get. But still, I love this one. It gave me that classic Dragon Ball feeling, and if you've been following the series, you should definitely check this one out. And if you've seen the movie and you're dismissing this arc right here, watch this episode. There are some differences, and you will definitely see them. So, I like this episode a lot. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Check it out, Dragon Ball fans. You might see something you like. But if you did watch this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. Did you have a favorite character or action scene from this week's episode? What did you think of Tagoma all of a sudden being really, really powerful? Do you think he's going to switch bodies with Ginyu? Are there any other battles that were not in the movie that you want to see in the anime version of the show? And what do you want to see from the rest of Dragon Ball Super? And where did Goku and Vegeta go? Please tell me your theories in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.